Hi, this is Wes Fryer, and this is a narrated slideshow to tell a little bit about our adventures yesterday on September the 11th, 2011, the 10-year anniversary of the 9/11 tragedy and terrorist attack. But I was actually in Shanghai, China, and had an opportunity to go out and see some pretty amazing things. So I've got about 48 pictures in this slideshow, and I'll just begin with a photo with some friends. This is Darren, Gail, Rod, Jared, and I. And Darren and Rod were hopping on their planes to Canada and didn't join us on this adventure, but we were getting together for some breakfast pictures before we left. And we were joined by Jess, and both Jess and Jared are from Australia, and Gail and I are from the United States, and that was our group of four that went out on our adventure this day. We actually took the shuttle from our hotel, the Holiday Inn in Pudong, to the nearest metro line, and then walked to the metro line. This was just some foot traffic, not too many folks here, but there was a path for bikes and motor scooters that was over here, so you had to be careful if you were walking in that area. It was really better not to be walking in this little pathway to be on. I was proudly wearing my Big Truck Taco shirt, so Gail took this picture of my shirt saying "Saving the World One Taco at a Time" at McDonald's, and actually I wasn't just wanting to, I got to go to McDonald's, in China. I needed to break a 100 kwai note, so I bought some French fries, and yes, they tasted exactly like McDonald's French fries in the United States. It cost 4 kwai to take the subway from this metro stop down to the area where we were going, which was on the other side of the river and in the older part of Shanghai, outside of Pudong. This was inside the subway. It was just packed with people, and one of the good things about traveling in China is you really, there's not a ton of crime, apparently. I was, watching my wallet and being careful, but it's not like some other countries I've traveled in where, there's no way you want to have a wallet in your back pocket, and this would be an incredibly dangerous situation to be in such close quarters with people. But you don't really want to be close to the door after you get in, because especially at the stops that are transit lines or stations that have multiple lines coming in, it just gets really crazy with people coming in and out. This was a shot of us walking out, and there are escalators as well as regular just stairs there in the middle. Not a lot of Westerners, mostly Chinese. This is a shot of a lot of motorbikes. So you see lots of motorbikes, bikes, and of course cars. The number of cars in China has just been skyrocketing, and the pollution is pretty bad in Shanghai. I think Shanghai has like 23 million people. So Houston, Texas, Gail was saying, has 3.5 million and is the fourth largest city in the United States. So Shanghai is just at a completely different level in terms of numbers of people. This is a picture taken, I think, shortly after we left a bookstore. So Jess took us to a bookstore. She had lived in Nanjing after college for a year, and so speaks fluent Chinese, and so was our tour guide. We got to buy a lot of great books at the bookstore, and I also did some recording of some street sounds, just audio kind of as we went along. And Jess has an audio blog and inspired me to think about doing that same thing. This is a very typical scene as you walk down the streets of Shanghai. Lots of clothes being hung out. People do not have dryers, so it would consume a ton of electricity and be very inefficient as well as expensive. So all kinds of clothes are just hung out to dry. I do not know what was going on here, but I think there was some kind of a payoff or something, and there was a lot of people gathered around looking, and this policeman was jumping in and kind of breaking up the crowd. So the Chinese government does not want people to gather in crowds. They do everything they can to discourage one-to-many communication. If you send too many text messages from your phone, for instance, they'll just shut down your text messaging for a week. That happened to one of the teachers that I had talked to. And, anytime people are going to be gathering in a public space like this, they're going to be suspicious, and you definitely felt the police presence around. This was just a guy on his bike that had this bust in the back of his basket. I thought that was kind of unusual here. I don't know if he was delivering it or what he was doing with it. Here's one of the books in the bookstore I went to. It was Mandarin hip hop, so using what they consider to be hip hop music. I don't think this was actually hip hop. It was just chants and songs, and there was a DVD that went with this. This whole section was about learning English and also learning Chinese in this case. It was not legal to take pictures inside the bookstore, so I surreptitiously took a few, and thankfully didn't have anybody try to take my iPhone away, but I wanted to snap this. This was a picture of some e-readers that are there, so it's interesting to see the e-reader revolution, coming to China. This was an incredibly huge bookstore. It was 6 floors, and there were different areas where there was technology, and so the e-readers were for sale here. After the bookstore, we had a wonderful lunch, and we made our way to the Bund, which is on the river, and you can see the Pearl Tower, which is the characteristic icon of Shanghai behind me, and all kinds of folks that were gathering. This was the day before the autumn moon, or the mid-autumn festival, or the moon festival, and it is a huge, huge holiday, and so there were lots and lots of people coming from outside of Shanghai. You can see to the right of me, there's a building that has kind of a hole at the top of it. It looks like a bottle opener, and that is the tallest building in Shanghai, and it was still under construction the last time I was here in 2010. Here are a couple folks that just kind of grabbed me and wanted a picture. This guy, I don't know if you can see it, but he has a big apple and it says iPhone. They were from Tsingtao, which is the name of a beer, and had pretty good English, and lots of people are really eager to practice their English and visit with you. Of course, some people want to, in shops and things like that, get you to buy things. But in this case, people just wanted to talk and visit. They were here for the holiday, and he explained China was a closed country for many years, I think in a way to explain, why they were so excited to have their pictures taken with foreigners. Not very many blonde people down here on the Bund. This is a photograph I took myself with the iPhone. You can just see the mass of humanity that is gathered here, and here to enjoy the views and enjoy, the opportunity to stroll along the river and just enjoy the holiday freedom. This is one of the buildings along the Bund, and you can't make it out very well in this. I probably should have cropped it, but there are people, images of folks holding up the corners of this building, and just some really, really amazing architecture. It'd be awesome to take a tour with somebody who is an expert of architecture of the buildings along here. This is a shot that I took. This guy's got his shirt pulled almost all the way up, so his belly and everything's all hanging out, and we saw a lot of people doing this, so I guess they were hot, and they were gonna be a little cooler and show off their tummy, so that was kind of interesting. We went to, I think it's pronounced Yuan Market after the Bund, and this is a real popular tourist area for shopping, but there's a lot of Chinese that are here too, so they've got the upturned roofs and tea houses here. Lots and lots of people that were here. Many people were eating dumplings, so I didn't get to go to my favorite Chinese dumpling place on this trip, but these were definitely popular. The line was super, super long to get these dumplings. This is a photo of a woman I took who was dragging a bag and had another bag, and oh my gosh, she looked like she might have been in her, maybe in her 80s, and I think I don't know if she lived on, who knows where she lived, but was definitely, picking up trash and appeared to be a street person. But, there really weren't people begging at all, which is interesting. But, people like this that were collecting things and possibly living off of things that were on the street that people had left. This is a picture of some silk scarves that were there. I thought this was real pretty. Lots and lots of silk, of course, for sale. Did not tour a silk factory, but we did that last year when we were here in Suzhou, which is outside of Shanghai. Lots of t-shirts for sale, and you may not be able to see the top of this, but it's basically Barack Obama inside a typical Chairman Mao military uniform, which I thought was interesting. I'd like to know what it says there in Chinese below his name. Not sure. This was a very interesting store that was on the outside of the Yuanwan market, and they were selling, I guess, the Red Book of Mao. So this is sayings that Mao had. But even more interesting than that was this book, and this is a New Testament Bible that was printed in Shanghai in 1924. So the Chinese Revolution, if memory serves me, took place in 1947. So the influence of Christian missionaries and the church in Shanghai was strong, prior to that time, but ever since has not been. So you still see some churches, and some churches operate, but I think they, from what I've heard, keep a close count of what nationals attend, and the government, I've been told, favors morality and favors people having morality that could come from church, but they don't want people to organize, and they don't want large churches, so those are opposed. This is a poster for the last Harry Potter movie, Harry Potter 7 Part 2, and you may not even, well, I don't even think in the way this is cropped, you're going to be able to see the Chinese characters at the top and the bottom, but this is an interesting necklace. I don't know what this is made of. It said, "Drive Mosquito, Protect Safety." So it was supposed to keep mosquitoes away from your skin, I guess, if you wore it. And this is just a shot in a corner alley of some bikes, and you can see clothing hung up here, and I don't know, maybe that's also just stuff that's wrapped around pipes that's there. I should say that the smell as you walk along these side streets is just really pungent and powerful. You've got, rotting food, in many cases human waste. Pardon me. We saw actually a mom holding her little young child who was going to the bathroom over a toilet, just an open toilet, as we were about to go on the metro line. This is just walking along the street here. Lots of things for sale celebrating Mao. Mao is celebrated as a national hero. Most of the people of China probably don't know I don't know if it's millions, definitely thousands of people killed, put into labor camps. The story of Mao's history in China, just a partial story told to the Chinese people. I don't know what this was, if this was tobacco or these were fish products, but there was a lady selling these, and not any Westerners purchasing these items. No idea what this was. I thought this was a really interesting ad. Here you have this, I guess super classy, sort of Michael Jackson looking Chinese boy in a white suit, holding this ice cream stick with this beautiful girl in pink at his side. So this was an ad for an ice cream, not an ice cream sandwich, but like an ice cream popsicle. Here's a lady getting exercise. So this was a little gym on the street, and she could pull down these handles, and there was also something that you might kind of find on a playground for people to be able to go from side to side. Not a lot of room, not a lot of gyms, so people exercise where they can. Lots of people would do Tai Chi out in the parks. These are some swords for sale. I wish I could have purchased one of these and brought it back. Definitely couldn't have brought it on as a carry-on. Don't know that I could have gotten it in my checked luggage. So don't know how I would get one of these home. I'd have to ship it, and who knows if that'd be possible, but there were some interesting swords for sale. This guy was playing his flute, and I think I'm gonna create a podcast. I may do it I've got a 2-hour layover today in Atlanta, and I recorded some audio just kind of standing behind him. It was awesome. He was really, really good, and it definitely sounded like Chinese flute music. So I just thought I'd capture that photo of him. This is a steamboat, or a boat that's not under steam power now, but it's supposed to look like a paddle boat, I should say, so not a steamboat. There were 3 different brides and husbands having their pictures taken along this. And so this is, I think, on the eastern side of the Bund, looking across the Pearl Tower. And there were a lot of boats. We were going to try to see if we could get on a boat and either have cocktails or dinner on one, but we could never find the ticket office. This is definitely the most worthless map I've ever seen. This was just trying to show us where we were under the ticket office, and there were words in English, but then the Chinese characters above them, and they were so small you couldn't really even read them. And for a Westerner trying to make out Chinese characters too, it was just terrible map, in this huge public area. We wandered around a little bit there to see if we could find the ticket office, found the food court, and there were these gelatinous desserts that looked pretty interesting. We did not try these, but snapped a little photo. But what we did find was a wonderful place to sit and watch the sun, not really the sun go down because you couldn't see it due to clouds and smog, but see the lights of Shanghai come on. So this is the river there, and it's a pretty nasty looking river. Lots and lots of boats going back and forth, some that are so heavily laden with looks like construction materials, perhaps coal, I don't know. The boat that's there in the middle is riding really high, but the one on the right is just super low. And I don't know if they were just going down. I don't think these could have been going to the ocean, because I don't think they could have withstood much in the ways of wave action. They were just so low and overloaded. But this was the spot where we actually spent probably about 3 hours, Gail and I, and just had magnificent views of the city. This area has been a lighthouse for a long time. There was a little plaque on the outside of the wall that kind of gave the history of it. It's been different things. We didn't go all the way up the top of the white spire there, but if you see below the white spire, there's an awning, and the middle light, there's 3 kind of yellow lights, and we ended up being seated right beside that middle light and being able to look across at this. And so the lights on these buildings came on kind of right to left. When I've been in China previously, in Shanghai in 2007, 2009, and 2010, I think in all cases there were boats going up and down the river that actually had some huge television screens showing advertisements. But what they've done now is they've turned the side of buildings into television screens, and so the advertisements show there. So the lights kind of progressively came on, and here you can see a photo I took later in the night with all the lights on. It was absolutely spectacular. You can kind of barely see there on the right side that tall bottle opener building. The top of it started to be shrouded with some of the cloud that was in there. But it was just really amazing. This is a photo of a dragon boat that was crossing, and so lots of boat traffic, both commercial boat traffic that was going right to left, going towards I think the mouth of the river, and then these boats carrying tourists were going back and forth. This is a little shot of the spire of the lighthouse that's there at the bend of the river, I guess, right there at the Bund. And then after we left, after having some cocktails and some appetizers, we walked along the Bund, and these are just a few shots of the buildings there. It almost looks like Disneyland. It is just really spectacular. A lot of these were embassies, and this was Embassy Row, and now they're banks. Some of them are hotels. There's one hotel called the Peace Hotel, which has recently been reopened. Just huge columns here, beautiful. I'd love to go in some of these buildings and take a tour of some of them at some time. So at the time I took this picture, the tallest building there with the can opener is actually shrouded in cloud. So it was a beautiful night, and here's the last image of Gail Lovely and I, and it was absolutely unforgettable evening, a great conversation. Can't imagine a more spectacular place in China to spend an evening having a conversation and kind of thinking about our conference and all kinds of things. So hope you've enjoyed this, and thank you for taking the time to take a look at it. It is wonderful to have a chance to document these memories sort of as they're fresh on the brain. And if you're interested in creating something like this, I am using an application on my iPhone called Sonic Pics, and just had plugged in this iRig microphone to my iPhone so that I'd be able to get a little bit better audio quality. I apologize, my voice has been a little hoarse. I'm probably going to discontinue trying to audio narrate here at this point, but anyway, thanks for tuning in, and definitely check out my blog, speedofcreativity.org, and you can search for China if you want to see some additional posts and narrated slideshows about our trip. Thanks.